We go. Well, good day to everyone again. I'm really pleased to invite today for this team fireside chat, Sharon from Superfast Recruitment, who has been a team friend for 2022, but I'm really pleased to say she's joined team formally as a service provider at the beginning of 23. And when we were chatting, I said it'd be really good to hear any good stories of some of your clients, Sharon, at Superfast, that had where your business had made a difference to them and took them on a journey. And you suggested, Paul, and actually it was a no-brainer because Paul introduced us together.
He did indeed.
A year or so ago, and was extolling the virtues of you at one of our Northeast meetings. So welcome today, Sharon and Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Sharon, can you tell us a little bit about Superfast, how you came to form the business and your background and experience and where you've taken the business today?
Yeah, no, quite a quick whistle-stop tour then. So my background, I come from the corporate sector, having spent 17 years in pharmaceuticals. And, found myself in a situation. Ironically, I'd always been field-based. So I'd always worked remote from home. And I found myself in a situation through a reorganization where my role was being converted into a head office-based role, which was down in Surrey. And that didn't really quite appeal to me, I'll be honest. I'd been doing a role where I'd spent, 2 or 3 days away from home regularly anyway, but the thought of completely relocating or doing 5 days a week from home, a couple of years into a new relationship that I knew was the one, just kind of like really wasn't something I wanted to do. And interestingly, I'd been having this hankering of setting up my own training business anyway. So this felt like an amazing opportunity to negotiate redundancy, set out on my own journey. And I think the big thing, Simon, was I had felt very, very grateful, I guess, for 17 years of a fabulous corporate career, very successful, learned lots. And yet I was aware through having a network of friends who were in small SMEs, sometimes micro businesses, who just didn't have, the same experiences in terms of how they sold, how they marketed. They'd had none of the training that I'd had access to. And I think my idea was, if I could take what I'd learned in corporate out into that smaller SME market, I could really add so much value. And that is how, how the business started, really.
Good.
And I guess because of our network, we'd built sales teams. Denise joined the business about 18 months in. We'd built many sales teams, had contacts in recruitment. And so we were working with some of them on their marketing. And through a mentor, got introduced to another recruiter who basically then started that classic referral process. And, one day I just thought, this was like just post 2008, 2009 recession. And I think business had realized that the online world was here to stay. This whole online marketing, it was starting to gather some pace. And yet within the recruitment space, it was something completely novel. And I think many, many companies had just not really had to market themselves, and things were changing. And so, I thought this is a market where there's a huge need. People realize they need to do something different, and they want some help. And so we went from being a generalist, I guess, into niching specifically into recruitment space. And I guess, as they say, the rest is history, although it has been a journey.
Okay. I'll come back to you in a minute to talk about how the offering is, how it works. But how did you two meet?
I think the introduction initially came from another one of Sharon's clients, a guy called Steve. Steve is part of my what we call a PEG group. So I'd actually done some training with another recruitment industry coach, Nikki Coffin, from Centered Excellence, another team service provider who the team at Superfast know well. And as part of that training program through Rocket Recruitment, Rocket Your Recruitment Business, I was paired up with Steve. Steve is an Englishman who works in Sydney and does accountancy and finance recruitment. And as most people will probably be familiar, the concept of a peer enhancement group is just that. It's a weekly accountability group. For me, it's similar sized recruitment business owners and sharing accountability, but also good ideas. And Steve had been working with the team at Superfast for a few years, had mentioned them on a few occasions. We were going through the process of redeveloping our website, so developing a whole new website and also a rebrand at that same time. And I knew that I needed to improve our marketing post-COVID pandemic, and that if we're going to meet our ambitious growth targets, that certainly marketing was something that we needed to do better, maybe even start in some instances, and have a consistent method to market our business. And over the course of a couple of conversations with Sharon, we then realized that actual fact, Superfast would benefit our business significantly by giving me the training that I needed to be consistent with marketing, and also the tools and the structure to enable me to do that.
Excellent. And how did you get lumped in with a guy in Sydney? That must be fun doing those catch-up calls.
Yeah, obviously daylight savings time over here that doesn't necessarily apply over there. So we're flexible. But yeah, Steve's the only international member of our kind of PEG group of five. Recently added another UK-based recruiter. So yeah, Steve was paired up originally through the Rocket Recruitment program that we all completed, and 2 years down the line, we are still, holding those weekly accountability calls.
That's good. That's wonderful. I was in Sydney in December. Would have been lovely to catch up. I met some wonderful recruiters while I was there. Back to you, Sharon. So can you just explain to me?
Yeah,
I think there's a USP wrapped around what you're offering, your service offering. Can you just explain how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a way I describe it is it's more of you have the DIY version of where you can go and do your own marketing and learn everything, and go and live on YouTube and webinars and work it all out, and that's amazing, and it can be quite time consuming. On the other side, you can just outsource it and let somebody take on that ownership, I guess. And we sit in the middle, and I describe it as we do it with you, because having had an agency side where we I guess had marketing handed over to us, I was coming across lots and lots of business owners, I guess like Paul, who didn't want to necessarily just completely hand it over, but actually wanted to learn more about marketing because they wanted to build their own internal systems and processes, because there's that long-term view of wanting to build. And if you're really wanting to build and scale a business, at some point, it makes sense to bring that capability in-house. But to do that, you need to have some clarity, some direction of what to do, what systems to have in place. And then really to make life so much easier, Simon, I think both for business owners, but also for marketeers who can be asked to be everything from an SEO specialist to a website designer and maintainer to a copywriter and a graphic designer and everything else in between. If you can have access to marketing resources that make implementation easier, it makes life so much easier and marketing more cost effective, I think, to implement. So our model is quite unique, really. So it's a membership program where people join they commit to 12 months, because marketing, it doesn't happen overnight. It is I hate to use that word, like you said earlier, Simon, it is a bit of a journey, but there is so much to kind of like, help people put in place. So people commit to 12 months. And it's a blended program where they get Denise and I guess, as their virtual marketing directors. Okay, so they get that help, that clarity, that direction in terms of, look, this is the plan, this is the direction to head. This is what you need to be thinking about implementing. And we know what works, I guess, in terms of strategies because of the agency side. And of course, we're delivering things for clients all the time. That's not as big a focus for us anymore. Really, Superfast Circle is the main focus. So they get that virtual marketing director. They get access to us several times a week on group Q&A calls. They've got a little online learning program where they can go and learn about marketing. We can direct them depending on what they need to focus on. It's not a case of you have to go from A to Z. If we all had the hours in the day, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? But we can direct people where to go based on what they need to implement. And then there's we call it the vault, but basically there is a repository of content in this online platform where people have got access to email templates, everything from, we call it a reignite campaign to get some low-hanging fruit and some quick wins, through to email campaigns that nurture place candidates, that nurture past clients. I'm thinking, what else is there? And every single month, and I think this has been interesting to see what your thoughts are on this, but we noticed through COVID that people loved the big reports and the campaigns that we did with that. So every month people get a 3,000 to 4,000 word report, and they get an email campaign that sits behind it. And in COVID, I think when everybody really kind of like sat up and thought, I need to do something different with marketing, that report got used so much more. But we noticed that people didn't necessarily do much blogging and consistent social media. So we introduced more of that. So basically, really, I think the way I look at it is, if there's someone like Paul, who's incredibly ambitious, who wants to grow their business, and they can see that there are things getting in the way of them implementing marketing, our job is to kind of like find out what's getting in the way. And if that's resources, then what can we create to kind of like, take that barrier away, to make marketing easy? Because if it's not easy, Simon, it's not going to be consistent, Paul, is it? And it's not going to get people the results that they want.
And Paul, a question for you. When did you start working with Sharon and Denise and the Superfast team?
Probably about 3 months later than I should have done, is the honest answer. So wind back the clock, the end of 2021 was when we were going through the redevelopment of our website. And hindsight's a wonderful thing. And of course, often when you speak to web development agencies, they have they give you the advice that they want to give you, because they believe they know what works. In working with Sharon and Denise, and they were kindly able to guide me before we actually pushed the button on, let's join the Superfast Circle, on what works in terms of recruitment websites. So things like data capture forms, lead magnets, downloads, blogs, some of which had been suggested through the web development agency that we were using, some of which hadn't. But as I say, hindsight's a wonderful thing. The project for the redevelopment of our website was extended through a slight change in our brief based on the feedback from Sharon and Denise and Superfast. So when I joke and say 3 months too late, it would have been wonderful to have Sharon and Denise as virtual marketing directors guiding me through the process of how we should develop a recruitment website that will work. So that's the kind of not short version of answering your question. But our journey has been much more than just that. But where it often perhaps starts with, I imagine, for Sharon and Denise's clients is, right, we need to do more marketing. maybe the place you start is, as we did, redevelopment of the website.
The shop window, if you like. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's an interesting point that Paul makes, because I think, my experience is that, there's often that, well, I'll start after I need a new website, or I need to change CRM systems. They're sort of two massive projects, and, we know that neither of those projects are finite. They're all ongoing. And also, a website, it can take anything from 3. I've had clients take anything from 3 to 12 months to do a website. Now, there's an awful lot that you can do marketing wise to leverage whatever website you've got. It doesn't have to be perfect, but there's so much more that you can be doing while people are working their way through that. So, it is a bit of a, it's something I really kind of like. In fact, Paul often will chat to people to say, look, just learn from my experience, because it can be a blocker for people, and it doesn't have to be a blocker either.
It's a bit like, when's a good time to plant a tree?
Yeah,
somebody said 50 years ago.
Yeah.
But the second best time is today.
Yeah,
but yeah, don't delay it, because
absolutely.
Paul, I got a question for you. There's putting you on the spot. Before you got involved with Sharon and Superfast, out of 10, what was your skill set in marketing?
Wow. 3 maybe.
And what would you score yourself now?
7, 8, perhaps. No, I did a business studies degree that majored in marketing. Unfortunately, I completed that in 2003. So the marketing techniques that I'd learned at that time were seriously outdated by 2020.
Was the internet going then? I can't remember.
Fax had just come around, I think. But yeah, Amazon at the time was a website that we bought our university books from, not everything to do with life. So the techniques of old have changed, and digital marketing wasn't a thing when I did a degree. So I needed to brush up my skills, and like most recruiters, perhaps in our world, and probably the vast majority of the team members, Simon, are ex-big corporate. So marketing was a thing, and email marketing was something that you knew, but perhaps when you're a fledgling business or developing, you haven't got the systems, the processes, and the procedures in place to consistently execute that on a regular basis, but you should be doing it.
I think, Sharon, I asked that question because I think it's part of your job is an education piece, isn't it? You're there to, and I like that analogy of marketing directors, because you're not doing it. You're directing and teaching them to do that, and then educating your clients as well, so they become self-sufficient.
Yeah, and I'm actually really pleased to hear Paul say what he said in terms of rating himself at 7, 8, because
I think he just said 7.
Was it 7?
He's hoping for an 8.
I did say 7 or 8.
Yeah, 7 or 8. Yeah, and I think that's really, it's pragmatic, because I know from conversations that Paul and I had, and what he's looking to build and everything, that he knows with Louise, who is his marketeer now, that there is so much more that they can do. And it always comes down to I guess time and resources and everything. And so Louise, I guess, who we work really closely as well, I guess seeing her grow, and she has come from a marketing background, but seeing how someone who has got that marketing background taps into the kind of resources that she has access to. And, one thing that she's fabulous at doing as well is really using Denise and I as that virtual marketing director. And then, every kind of I guess with intervals, we will have, a 3-way conversation with Louise and Paul, just looking at, okay, what's the next bit of their strategy? So, I think if Paul had said 10, the listeners might have thought, wow, that's amazing. But actually, I would have thought, I'm not really I'm not really sure that's true. Whereas
I don't
actually
think you
him
need
saying,
to be 10 either. You know,
there's always stuff
he's a
to
10
learn,
on
isn't there?
recruitment.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be a 10 on
He doesn't
marketing.
need to be a 10.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. No. And so yeah, you know, I think, and also, you know, you didn't bring Louise in straight away, Paul, either, did you? I think that was...
No, that was very much part of our journey. So
Yeah.
I think the initial piece that appealed to me for the Circle offering was the content. So we were developing a new website, so I needed some expertise in helping me write the copy for that.
Yeah.
We wanted to include blogs, so I'm not a copywriter, so I needed some, you know, backdated blogs that we could use, and I wanted, you know, through you know, Sharon and Denise's kind guidance, a download section. You know, effectively that's a lead magnet. So we produce, or more appropriately, Superfast Circle produce on our behalf, and we design and publish our own reports, which, you know, 99% is written by the Superfast Circle, but they are, you know, you would be struggling to really detect that they're not wholly unique, but they're very appropriate for us. And it was the content really that was one of the main benefits that I saw of joining the Circle. One thing that Denise hasn't mentioned is that they have an online training platform, which is a huge program to teach you how to do marketing.
Yeah.
But like most online platforms, you know, you get out of that what you put in. And I then recognized that marketing wasn't just something that an MD could do and dabble in kind of half a day a week. A little bit like recruitment, the job of a marketeer is never done. There's always more to do. And from that journey of let's do a rebrand and let's, you know, redesign our website, to actual fact, wow, we need somebody to consistently execute marketing. That then led me to hiring Louise. So Louise has been now with us approaching 2 years, and my initial foray, if you like, and kind of cautious entry into the world of employing a marketeer in our business was as a placement student. So Louise joined us on the second year of a master's in marketing from the local university. Part of her requirement to complete that 2-year master's degree was a year in industry. And the way that we were able to pitch that opportunity to come and join Paul Card Recruitment for 12 months was, if all goes well, this should lead to a permanent job. Yeah. And one of the major things that made our job attractive over other internships was the fact that we had the Superfast Circle there as virtual marketing directors to help twice a week and with monthly check-ins, one-to-one support, me as a specialist recruitment consultant to develop the skills of a marketeer. Because I've actually got 2 coaches that are external helps to my business to help develop Louise. So Louise came to us with 12 months experience working for a marketing agency, and she was offered 4 jobs and 4 internships. And she chose to join us because we had that support in Sharon and Denise, with twice weekly coaching calls, one-to-one support, a community that she could tap into to develop her skills as a marketeer. And our journey on marketing, and Louise, as I say, approaching 2 years service now, came into our business through that route.
And I'm going to put you on the spot again, Paul. That's what you're here for.
Yeah, no problem.
How if we look at the business now, what sort of outcomes can you see from the investment that you've made with Sharon and Superfast?
Yeah, numerous. We produce regular content, fortnightly blogs, monthly reports, email nurture campaigns. So we had the technology that was already in our business as a result of implementing a new CRM system. Most of those have email funnel marketing, so sequential marketing, where you can push out valuable content, you can market placeable candidates, but they've given us the content that's written in a way that is engaging, appealing, that enables Louise to consistently execute marketing campaigns without having to go back to writing the whole thing herself. So to answer the question in terms of results, placements that have come from clients that we've never spoken to. We have, a brilliant example. We're dealing with a client at the moment who've registered 3 vacancies. So our resourcing team identified that they were likely to lose a candidate. We'd registered a candidate with this business, and more importantly, 2 candidates. What the candidates told us is that that business was relocating, and they were relocating within our geographical territory, but the people weren't willing to travel to the new site. So we then coded them on our CRM as what might be termed in Jeremy Snell's language as a next generation job. This could be a client of the future.
Yeah.
So our resourcing team coded that person. We then sent them marketing content, kindly written by Superfast, which was a sequential journey of 3 emails and a brochure or one of our reports. So one of the reports that Superfast wrote for us, we had produced as a brochure to send people through the post.
Yeah.
My delivery team then got an email saying, Andrea, thanks so much for your communication, your brochure. We'd like to engage with you to help us place 3 people in our business.
Brilliant. My
actual delivery team's, Andrea's reaction was, who on earth is this person that's contacted me, that's had an email from me, that's had marketing from me? Yeah. So we were really able to see that whole journey from the resourcing team identifying an opportunity, the marketing team marketing to those potential contacts of the future, and then those contacts registering 3 jobs with us, 1 of which we've placed and 2 of which we're actively working on. And it really completes the circle of a marketeer's involvement in business development and future sales generation.
I think probably it has an impact as well on your staff, because they can see it all being joined up and working for them on both sides. So real teamwork involved internally as well as with Superfast. Well, that's great news. And I've got a question for both of you, but I'll come to Sharon first, because I guess with a broad section of your recruitment clients, you get different feedback from different markets, different geographies. How do you see, I get a little bit of nervousness from some of our members about 2023, but also quite a bit of optimism as well. How do you see 2023 rolling out, and challenges that perhaps recruiters might have?
They're going to face. I think, like yourself, as I talk to circle members, but also perhaps people who are considering investing in marketing and talking about the circle, I do pick up that there are some elements of a bit of nervousness, or people perhaps being wary. I guess it's that uncertainty of perhaps not quite knowing how the second half of the year might evolve. I think we've got a sense of what's happening at the moment, and yet I'd be really honest, Simon, that I'm coming across a lot of people, certainly when I'm doing our own outreach, who things are very buoyant still. They feel very positive. They are certainly putting things in place to make sure that they keep things as buoyant for themselves as they can. I think there is a challenge that people see. I think for everybody, the candidate attraction is still a big challenge. And so, for me, that is very much about, making sure that people are putting in place multiple marketing activities so that they keep that candidate attraction. And I think one thing that a lot of people are not perhaps doing is really investing in candidate nurture, because if they're reaching out to candidates now and candidates aren't ready, and if they're passive, they're probably not going to be ready, then it's almost like, let's just move on. And I think that mindset needs to change, so that people realize, look, there's a passive candidate population there that we need to nurture them. We need to build some relationships with these people. So there is that piece. But I think the challenge and the danger for people here is it's very easy to put a lot of your energy in candidate attraction, because today I've still got plenty of jobs. It's the candidates that I need. And I think for me, it's making sure that business owners realize that actually they need to be doing client marketing and candidate marketing. Even if, you've got plenty of jobs coming in and your client base is quite good, you need to be starting to put things in place if you're not already putting client marketing and client nurture campaigns in place, and continuing to do that client outreach. Because, you know, if things, let's say, you know, tech is the area that are feeling it quite a lot at the moment, but if other sectors begin to sort of notice things, you know, quieting, slowing down, etc., then suddenly there'll be that knee-jerk reaction thinking, oh my God, I need to start doing client marketing. Well, there'll be companies that have already been doing that.
Yeah.
And it becomes more challenging then. So I think that's the challenge, is actually, you know, being mindful that you need to keep both those plates spinning of client and candidate, you know, lead generation, rather than reacting, which I think is what happened in COVID times.
Yeah.
You know, we need to learn from that experience. And I think there are companies that have slipped back into that comfort zone of thinking, hey, I've got lots of business. It might not be quite as quiet, but I've still got lots of, not quite as busy, but I've still got lots of business. That's risky.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Paul, just tell us a bit about your sector, because I know the market you serve, but if you could just share, because some of the team members from around the country may not know what you do. So just explain your market, your team, and how you see 2023.
Yeah, so we are a Northeast-based niche accountancy and finance recruiter operating in that geographical territory. So despite the accent, actually a Smoggy from Middlesbrough and not a Geordie. Local football rivalries aside. So yeah, our team of 7, very specifically focused on accounting and finance appointments within the Northeast. We're optimistic. As I was told on the golf course by a CFO the other week, ever the optimist when you're trying to land a 3-wood or a tiny green from 220 yards. Didn't quite make it, but almost just narrowly missed the target. So we are 2 years into a stretching but realistic 5-year business plan. The current state of our business is good, and we are currently developing 2 leaders within our team to be a commercial lead and an operations lead to help me continue to grow the business. And you know, for all the right reasons, despite the economic predictions, we're continuing to make great progress. And marketing has been one of those consistent activities that has led to that optimism. Both the client and candidate nurture, and the Superfast circle is just one of a number of marketing strategies to our marketing activities. So there are other partners we use, there are other technology that we use, but really Sharon and Denise provide the marketing strategy as well as the tools to allow us to implement consistent, effective marketing, which has led to where we are right now, which is a good flow of jobs, new client relationships, reigniting, nurturing candidate relationships, so that we're in a much better position. And as Denise just said, it's not Sharon, not Denise. Sharon just said, it's not being reactive to market conditions. It's being on the front foot, having a consistent supply of candidates and clients, and we're in a good place. So yes, I understand the nervousness around the year ahead, but for all the right reasons, we're maintaining optimistic but realistic ambitions that will continue to be where we need to be and want to be in 3 years' time.
Terrific. Well, thank you both for a really informative and vibrant discussion. I'm going to be doing more of these fireside chats, and probably under sort of 4 areas, really. Business, of course, how do we help and share stories about the recruitment business? People, how do you attract better team? How do you retain your staff? We'll be talking about tech with some of the wonderful tech service providers that we've got, and some new people coming into the market. And of course, how could I not forget marketing as well? Marketing's so important, and really glad we did this session. I'm going to pose anyone who's watching this at a later date, because this will be recorded on the hub. I want them to, you give yourself a score out of 10 or where you are in marketing. And if you're below 5, perhaps you better have a chat with Sharon and Denise at Superfast.
Simon, probably just one thing I might want to direct people to have a look at. And one of the things that helped me as a business owner understand whether the investment of working with Superfast was worthwhile. Superfast have a free download, which is called their marketing checklist. And in that, it allows you to self-assess your own marketing activities in a number of areas. And it's actually something that we do on an annual basis. It actually then provides a balanced scorecard of have we made progress and what are the areas and the opportunities with our business that we can continue to develop. So anybody watching this that hasn't seen the Superfast Circle marketing audit checklist, I'd encourage you to leave your details on the website, download that free guide, and that will give you an idea of whether you're doing marketing well or whether there could be some improvements you might want to make.
Sharon, he's done all your marketing
for
you.
I know I guess I had sort of like, you know, a closing sort of like little takeaway for people, and then that as my sort of like, you know, suggestion really. If anybody wants to just drop me an email at sharon@superfastrecruitment.co.uk, you know, I'm happy to just send them a link. So but yeah, I think thanks for mentioning that, Paul, because I know a lot of people find that really insightful as well. And if anybody actually wants to go and download that and go through it, I'm happy to have a chat with them on the back of it, just in terms of any insights that they get, just, you know, completely complimentary and stuff. But I think I know when you and I were chatting about this initially, Simon, you know, you were talking about, you know, what are the lessons and the takeaways, and I think there's a couple of big takeaways that I would offer people, really, and they stem from coming from a corporate background. And I think, you know, in the organizations I work with, which were big global pharmaceutical companies, there was not a culture that encouraged failure. Failure was not great. And you know, you ended up feeling not great if you'd had a little bit of a fail there. And yet I think in the entrepreneurial, it's very, very different. And if there was, you know, two things I would recommend to people, that is take more risks. Take risks sooner than you feel comfortable perhaps taking those risks. And if you fail, it's fine. Learn from it. You know, go ahead. Fail fast, I think is a great thing, but just make sure that you learn from it. Because I think that, you know, that there is a fear around making a mistake and failing, and marketing is all about testing and learning and just keep going and going and going. So that would be my takeaway. And if you download that checklist and you think, oh my God, then that's just look at it as data. It's black and white, it's data, and it's just data about where you are today. You know where you want to be. And, you know, it's the path then that you can plot from here to here. And, you know, if a conversation with me can help you, you know, with that, happy to do that.
While I was in Australia and I was at an airport waiting for a delayed plane, I read this amazing book by Sinek.
Oh, Simon, yeah.
And he encourages managers and leaders to fail, because and also to celebrate failure in the team underneath. Because what you're doing is you're giving them autonomy, and they will learn much more from their mistakes than they do from their successes.
Absolutely.
So I thought it was a wonderful book, and anyone who reads this, that I've said on a couple of Zoom meetings we've done with team members, if you read that and apply one thing that is inspired you by Sinek, you'll have a better business. It's just one of the best wonderful business books for leaders that I've ever read. It's just, he's just on the money. Well, thank you both. I'm going to cut it short now, but please come and join. If any viewers are interested in doing a fireside chat, if you've got something you're doing differently, or you'd like to showcase what you do that's been a real success in if you're a service provider or a team member, I'd love to share that story. Well, thank you both. And Paul, I might see you at a regional meeting. I might see you at a regional meeting.
You will. Cool. Wednesday morning, I believe.
Really looking forward to that. Thank you. Cheers, Nick.
Good to see you, Paul. Take care. Thanks, Simon. Thanks, Paul. Bye now.